Hey everyone, this is Selling on Giants, the e-commerce marketplace show, where we chat with experts in the e-commerce industry and talk about the latest insights, strategies, and best practices you need to succeed on major e-commerce marketplaces. I'm your host, Victor Dwyer, and today we're joined by Yana at YLT Translations and a well-known e-commerce entrepreneur and Amazon sales expert who serves as the founder and CEO of YLT Translations, helping sellers achieve global success. Before we dive into how to beat your content on a content level, Yana, please give us a little intro about yourself and what you're currently working on.
So thank you so much for having me again in your podcast. As you said, I'm the owner and the CEO of YLT Translations, and we help sellers expand big brands, enterprises. Basically, we translate the listings that they have in the source language to sales in another language. That's basically what we are experts at. And hello from Europe.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just to kick it off, what are some common mistakes that sellers make when expanding into other international marketplaces?
So I would say it's definitely using any sort of machine translation because, when you see like, oh, wow, this is free and like, hiring someone that's a proper translator costs money. So you kind of go with something which is free. And usually what is free does not bring you a lot of value
Mhm.
except ChatGPT nowadays. But also, I guess you need to pay for it to get access the whole time. So I would say that definitely machine translation is something that really can cause a lot of damage to your listings because at first it's fine, like you see like honeymoon period, you get more than you deserve basically. So all of your listings would be ranked higher and maybe the impressions will be higher, but then 6 months after the honeymoon period you'll see drop in sales, highly likely going to be because the content doesn't make a lot of sense or it doesn't have any keywords, which leads me to another mistake, and that is basically having a beautifully done listing but without any keywords. So I would say that having keywords is mandatory in your listings because without keywords, nobody will be able to find your product. So I would say that number one is definitely images, and number two is definitely keyword. And now, like the newer like outlay of the listings, how they look is like that. You'll see that the title is like moved to the left. And then, like right underneath it, you see pictures. So I would say that they're glued together, like the keywords and the images. So this is something that I see very often that doesn't well, and it doesn't really matter if they're like small private label brands or bigger brands. Like they just cannot seem to do like the content the right way as they do, let's say, with their US listings, with the content over there, but they seem not to do a good job when you go to like a foreign marketplace.
Yeah, that's so true. And how can you communicate to a brand to tell them how important it is? Because I think it's like more of an American thing. Like, oh yeah, like the translation that'll be just fine. But because we're used to everything being like in proper English in America, and then
Yeah.
and they're not used to like anything else that's different. What would you say to someone that's like to another brand to try to really prioritize another language and using a real human to translate it rather than a robot?
Yeah, well, sometimes that's a good question because sometimes it is really hard to persuade those brands not to, go with the machine translations or just ChatGPT basically just kind of translates as good as Google Translate. So I don't think that, because I get a lot of questions for ChatGPT, but nowadays it's still not that great for listings translation. It is great for creating something out of nothing. And I think the program is set up to work that way. But when it comes to listings, even though if you use like the AI tools, that those AI tools will take certain portion of the listing, then translate it, and then completely recreate the other part of listing. And then you might in that process lose a bunch of like really relevant information for your brand. And you would not even know that they're not there because you don't speak the language. I always give like some good examples, like and how brands can just ruin their brand awareness, their listings, the content, basically everything they're doing, because the machine translation a lot of times it doesn't make a lot of sense and it doesn't understand what context is. And then like I can pull up so many examples from Amazon. Like I remember there was like a listing selling bikini in Italian, and the title said blue bikini for ladies, and then it was like the size was at the end of the title, and then it should be plus size, right, for plus size women or plus size models, but the translation to Italian said donna grosso, which means fat women. So this was like, purely the result of using Google Translate. And this is what you get a lot of times, and also a lot of inconsistencies, confusion, and sometimes even offensive. And then I pull out a couple of examples. They're really, really easy to find. I think that, if I type in every single product or category, like you can easily spot these machine translations that really do not make a lot of sense and which don't resonate well with the audience. And then another important thing I say is that so everyone wants to go to Germany because it's the biggest marketplace, and I always recommend this one being quite good one. But the thing with the German marketplace is that out of all international marketplaces, Germany gives out the most refunds to consumers. So you have to be extra careful about the content, what you write, what do you think that the KPIs of the products are, how to use it, and all of that. Because if Germans kind of thought that it was something else or like they didn't fully understand it because of the US salesly fluffy style that is just literally copy pasted into the German surrounding, it would not set well with the Germans. So this is all to take that, you should not do it that way. And then at the end of the day, if you use machine translation or translator doesn't do any keywords or does not put any keywords in the listing, this will end up costing you more than if you paid for the service that did your listings the right way. Also, it's like a one-time fee, basically. Whoever you hire, you're going to be paying them per project, and you're not going to be paying them like as your PPC agencies or anything else that you have to run every month. So really, I think people do not have excuse not to use proper, keyword research optimization translation service. Definitely.
And can you go into a little bit about like potential sales increases or decreases based
Hmm.
off using a robot versus using a human or an Amazon listing creation service that can translate those things? You talked a little bit about how certain things will be able to like increase and decrease. And I know this is a loaded questions, but like let's say that if you use a robot, you'd only see like a normal baseline, like 20% increase in sales if you use like a chat GPT or something. But then if you use a
Yeah.
human, then you can get possibly a 40% increase in sales because of more keywords and where they make sense, where you get increase. Like, do you have any data supporting that?
So we recently done a case study, and it was like not even keywords. This was just pure image localization. So a lot of times people do not understand English. That's basically 60% of the rest of the world, minus China. And this means that you are addressing every other or every third consumer out there instead of every single one. So what we do, and what I always recommend sellers to do, is that the main images should be localized. Now we can do that. Earlier, you were not able to do that. You had to be like enrolled in a special Amazon program to have the access to that. But nowadays, everyone can have customized images according to the country, which is very important, especially if you have a product that needs to be put together in a certain way or like certain ingredients that you want to make sure that people understand how to use and like if they're allergic to and whatever not. So basically, just by translating the images the right way, one of our sellers, he got, I think it was 62% increase in conversions and impressions overall after 2 weeks. We did that in January, and he had 75% increase in profit just because the listings had localized images. So these are images, and just imagine how much more it will reflect that same thing if you have keywords done the right way. And so you actually would pop up when someone writes, I don't know, wet brush, black wet brush, or a curly hair brush, how much more would your product stand out and pop up if you had the right keywords versus when you don't have any keywords, which is the case with the machine translations or ChatGPT. They don't have any connections or like they don't have any APIs where you can find helium 10 or data dive integrated. So basically what you have are maybe like a Google results, which are not 100% reliable for Amazon as well. And then as I said, keywords would bring more to the table than just like like impressions and stuff like that will actually, like, most of the keywords would convert into sales. And it's very easy to be the one, it's actually easy to offer your product to the audience and make that stand out or just even pop up for that search term. Because what I realized is that a lot of US brands never check their content, and they don't even know what it is that should be in their listing because none of their team speaks that other language. And that is why out of like 15 competitors in top 20 best-selling categories, let's say in Germany, you maybe have two, three competitors that have good content,
All other competitors really do not have anything worth, fighting against or just like using their keywords and so on. So as I mentioned, like the wet brush, like top seller products, like top 20 products, and on German marketplace, I think it's like 3 or 4, and I think Foot Mask is the one that has 5 top competitors, but then it's like out of 15. So I think like even if you landed like top 7 or top 8, it's great success for you, especially because it doesn't have to be that difficult. As I said, purely because these brands, they don't care because it's different language, so they don't understand, so they're like whatever. But then I always ask the same question, and I'm like, how can this not be that important to you in your US listings and content in English is? Because those are absolutely the same 2 things, except you and your team don't understand the one on the German marketplace, but all those potential German consumers, they do understand it. So it should be your top priority.
Yeah, 100%. And if a seller is currently selling in the Amazon US marketplace right now, what would
Yeah.
be the first place they should go to into an international marketplace on Amazon?
I mean, of course, it made sense to go to the UK because like it's English language, and then you just do keyword research for UK and make sure maybe if there are like some small localization things, like what we had with the seller selling kids diapers, and then diapers is not a term that you use in the UK English because diapers is a term for adult diapers. So he should have used the word nappies, which they didn't. So they lost all time and money on that. But apart from that, you should definitely do Germany and Europe. You should do Mexico because it's quite close. You can do Canada as well. And then you can like, see how it's going and then think of maybe doing like more across Europe. So definitely UK and Germany, Europe, and Mexico and Canada because it's just quite close and very convenient.
Are you an online seller struggling to navigate the complexities of marketplace management? Let Bellavix help. Our dedicated team of professionals are passionate, innovative, and committed to excellence to growing your brand on marketplaces. With Bellavix, you can trust your brand will receive personalized support and expertise that will help you stand out from the competition. We understand that every brand is unique, which is why we tailor our approach to fit your specific needs. So if you're ready to take the brand to the next level on marketplaces, contact Bellavix today. Let us help you achieve your goals to grow your brand. Yeah, that's amazing. And what should someone expect with selling on each of those marketplaces? Like, is there a big difference between, for example, like Mexico and Canada? And then obviously there's going to be like certain specific like traits and specific reasons to go into them. But I love to
Uh-huh.
hear from you, like with going into each one of these foreign marketplaces, what can someone expect by going into them on Amazon?
So, I mean, I'm gonna answer with an unpopular answer saying it depends. So, like, it depends on the product and the category. There are certain products and categories that do better in Mexico than in the US, for instance, or like Canada. I mean, that's why you have to do due diligence. So you can't just like expect like, oh, I'm just gonna launch in Germany or Mexico. You have to do the due diligence. You have to also go to analytics. You have to see the product opportunity report. You can have someone like due diligence for you in the language you don't understand. You have to ask the audience, will the audience buy your product? So there's like a lot of things that you need to do before you decide to launch. And then based off of the data that you get, then you can understand what you can expect or not. Also by like doing data like research and all of the that unsexy things with your competitors, and then you'll see like how much money they can get. You can use Helium 10 Black Box or any other tool that can have like the analytics in it, and then you can see like what you can expect. But what I've seen that people, the sellers basically never do is exactly this due diligence. They would just like go and expand. They're like, oh, it's a big marketplace. I'm going to sell it over there. Well, also Germany is a big marketplace, but we've had sellers that had like literally zero sales. And then we would go and like make a poll or go ask our team, like, why are people not buying this product? And sometimes my team would be just like, well, I don't know. We don't like it. It's not very much the German, or like it's not something that Germans would buy. So something is like very simple like that. And a lot of times you don't even have to pay for someone to do it for you. You can do like a little bit of, like testing here and there. And then you can put the pieces back together and then be like, okay, is this worth for me going there or not? Especially because if you want to go to Europe, it's a long process for VATs and for getting the company registered in every country. So that could be like a really, like it's like food for thought. Like, like do a really deep research and then you will realize if this is the marketplace is good for your product or not. Don't just like waste your time and money just thinking like, oh, I'm going to do this and then whatever happens. Of course, there's going to be less competitors than in the US. I mean, definitely the US is the most challenging one out there. And there are different rules that say, like in Europe, you can still keep those caps lock, which are against the US in the US. And there's just like a bunch of things that are never going to be probably, applied for European listings that are already, like been against the US for the last 2 years in the States. But definitely doing due diligence will let you know what you can or cannot expect.
Yeah. And like it's really important to realize that these cultures are totally different.
Yeah,
And you have to really like ask the people that are there saying like, "Hey, would you go on Amazon and purchase this product? Is this something that you could see yourself using?" And if they say, "Heck
exactly.
no," and all of them end up saying that in that particular country, then it's like, no,
Yeah,
like it's probably not going to be a good fit. But you have to do like that a market analysis first before you invest these thousands and thousands of dollars into going to this
yeah.
other country by just asking them saying, "Hey, would this be a good fit?" And there's a million survey things out there that you can utilize. You can utilize
Absolutely.
friends, family, whatever. But
Exactly. You
like
can do
it's
like
really
the
important to ask.
Facebook expert groups, and then you can ask them like, find Japanese people, find French people. You don't have to pay for that, and just like ask them. And what we found was very useful is that because sometimes you get like an access to limited amount of people, and maybe you're selling ski accessories, and then the group you're asking really does not like to go skiing, but then you can ask like, do you or somebody that would buy this product? And then sometimes because people would not think outside of the box, like if you ask a question, would you buy this product, you're just like, oh, me, never. But they would be like, oh, but I know someone who will buy it. So you have to be like very precise in the question, asking, would you or somebody that that is into this would buy this product? And then people
Yeah.
go like, oh, right, so not me, but like my cousin, he's crazy about this, blah blah blah. He will have to buy it, and my best friend too, but I don't do skiing. So this is just kind of how you have to like I also like to compare it like with ChatGPT, like how to make a better prompt in order to get a better answer. I mean, it's also like, about asking people to get that, but that's also a good idea. And people forget that, by asking your audience, you're going to get a lot of good guidelines for the product. And people do not usually ever ask the audience, which I think is a very big mistake.
What can other brands do to really start seeing if their product will be successful in an international marketplace? How can they prepare or ask those right questions to see if they will
Mhm.
succeed in that marketplace?
So I think first of all, they have to do a competitor analysis, see if competitors are making money. Like first of all, they want to go either to the Opportunity Explorer and Brand Analytics, or you can go, for instance, like we like to use Helium 10 Black Box. Then you like see the profit that the product is doing, how many sales there are, and how many competitors there are. I also like to say that, sometimes if you have a product, it's completely new product for this new marketplace. It can be like either hit or miss, and then like you can like research marketplace, like maybe like other marketplaces where the sold like except Amazon, and you'll see if there's a need for that, like with people. You can use Google Trends, Google Analytics, Keyword Planner, all of that. But if you do have competitors, then I think it's good to research them. Also, sometimes having no competitors is not a good sign, because maybe it won't work. Sometimes it would. We had sellers that had great success with first time products on that new marketplace. So I would say that this is like that: the profit, the sales, the margin. Also, what I would do is like I would compare. You're surely going to have competitors that are selling in the US and then they expand internationally. I would definitely compare how well these brands are doing internationally, and then see what is the profit margin or difference that they're making versus the US marketplace. Because some of them will be making like 20%, more profit, but others will be losing money. So it's not true that everyone who expands succeeds. But for instance, like comparing what's happening on your home marketplaces with these brands selling internationally would show you how good this could be potentially for your brand. That's like number one and two. Number three, definitely like looking for the keywords, like seeing the search volume. If the search volume is 15,000 or like 5,000, it means that people are searching for this item. Then of course analyzing the competitors, see how good is their content, the keywords, if you can beat them easily or not. Just like making sure you never run out of stock, like all of these like things that you usually do. Also when you sell in the US. And then I would definitely like check with the audience, like if the audience would love this product, and if they would do, then definitely like you get like a lot of green lights, and then basically it means that you should definitely try and do it. Of course, if there's like a good P&L, if the competitors are not that difficult to beat, and if it's a trending product for the marketplace.
Yeah. And just curious, can failing products be successful on another marketplace?
Yeah, 100%. Like we've had a couple of examples with that, which is really interesting. Also, how you can find this, a couple, just ideas is also like doing the brand analytics. Then you have the search term frequency report. And then basically what you can do is like get it, it's like a quarterly report. And then you can see like the top 10, 50, 100 top search frequency terms and compare it to the US marketplace. So what we've seen here, for instance, like wooden toys work amazingly well in Europe, but they don't do so well in the States. Like they don't sell that well, and the search term frequency rank is not that high. And we have like a bunch of sellers basically making bigger revenue in Europe, just because like Europe is kind of more like it's all about sustainability and like the awareness. I think it's bigger in Europe than it is in the States. Bottom line, it's all about like the cultural differences and the way people prefer this or that. Also, like for instance, like Paw Patrol toys are much more popular also in Europe than they are in the States. I was really surprised by that because, like, you watch like those Paw Patrol like cartoons in the States as well, but they're not as popular. The toys are not as popular as they're in Europe. We've had one of the sellers selling like this portable ACs, and in Germany, for instance, like that is like a top 5 frequency search term, which is insane because in the States it's like 500 something, I think. And then there's a really reasonable explanation to that because the climate is changing very fast. There are like climate changes happening every year. Like summers are like more hot and they're like more severe and with all the rains and all that. And like in Germany, you don't have ACs, like central ACs installed basically anywhere because it used to be much colder. So people are reaching out to like, similar products to cool off during summer. So portable AC is like one of the top selling products there is because of the climate change. So there's just like a bunch of examples like that kind of make sense. I would say more than less. You can see, like, you can find out a reason why this is like doing better than it is doing like in the States and so on. And there are just like a lot of examples of the products that are not necessarily that successful in the US, but could be crazy successful in Mexico. Like for instance, if you're gonna sell Cinco de Mayo, I don't know, glass cups, probably don't want to do that in, I don't know, in France because they're not too big on the Cinco de Mayo. That will be totally wrong, right? Also, like localization plays a really, really important part over there. And you just have to understand that, like, if you're selling only Cinco de Mayo products, it would not make a lot of sense to sell them in Europe because in Europe it's not that big of a holiday as it is in Mexico and in the States, of course.
Yeah, and do you have any other tips to really help another Amazon seller succeed in international marketplaces?
Yeah, I would say definitely the localization is the way to go because, as you said, different marketplaces, different style, different cultures. Even like the Spanish in Spain and Mexican and Spanish in Mexico are two different Spanish languages. And consumers in Spain, they don't like to see something written in Mexican Spanish. They just kind of feel it like it's like far away abroad. They kind of, they can't relate to the brand and it's not a good idea. So I would say that localization is really, really important. I think that you should not stick to the original text like word by word, but kind of have it done kind of more freely and to kind of put those like local cultural elements in it. I think that's also very, very important. Keywords can't be translated from one language to another because sometimes people will not search for same things. They don't even search for same things when you compare US and UK. There is going to be like 5 to 10% difference in the keyword list that you would get at the end. So just imagine what it's like for other countries that speak different languages. So you have to do keyword research from scratch. That is very, very important. And number 3 is definitely have translations of your main images or any images that you have, because this is the first thing that people will look at. And then if people look at this in Germany and it's in English, maybe they will not fully understand it. Not everyone is fluent in English. Mostly people are not fluent in English, especially when they're buying baby products or something that you would like supplements. You kind of, like have to take in, like it goes to your body. You kind of want to know fully 100% what you're buying. And if they don't 100% understand what they're buying, they're not going to get your product. So those are my top 3 tips. Images, keywords, and localization.
That's amazing. And do you have anything else that's been top of mind lately that you've been wanting to communicate? It could be things like you've seen a lot of sellers doing this and they should be doing that. Anything else that's been top of mind for you lately?
I would say that, and I get a question about like the marketplaces, like where they should go, where they shouldn't go, and I would still not go to Sweden and Poland in Europe as two newest marketplaces, because Amazon hasn't been pushing them that a lot, and you don't want to run PPC and spend your money on that a marketplace that's basically not working that well. So I would definitely skip the Poland and Sweden for now. I think it's good if you get there early, but I just don't think it's necessary to spend your money on that, definitely. And I just want to mention like the UAE marketplace, because you don't need translations for that. They also have FBA. And what's really interesting is their home decor category that is not as saturated as this in the States. They maybe have like 10,000 products versus 120,000 products in the States. And this is a really good category because, I mean, I'm sure you know, like after COVID, during COVID, a lot of people have relocated to Dubai because they were given these golden visas if they buy property and like, you know, have a bunch of companies registered over there. So the thing is that people come and go, like expats, they rent apartments. They're usually empty apartments, and they're looking for products to buy furnishing for the apartment at really good prices. So this category is very, really successful, and competition is barely not there. So this is a category that's still kind of, you know, could be really potentially quite successful for some of the sellers selling in that category.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you have any other tips or suggestions that people should be doing before we sign off?
I think that one thing that I haven't seen anyone do is basically they almost never optimize listings that they translated for another language. As I said, if you optimize your listings in the US, why don't you optimize them in another marketplace? I literally haven't seen anyone do that. We work with thousands of brands, also very big enterprises like Nestle and Crocs, and you know, and none of them optimize listings every 6 months. It's not something you should do too often, but I would say that every 6 months, just doing your keyword research and just kind of touch up on those old listings, make sure that you're still relevant for the very relevant keywords. And also, you know, every now and then there's like a new TOS that kind of is gonna pop up, and so you're gonna want to make sure that you don't have any of those words like, I don't know, like waterproof and windproof. Like Amazon doesn't like these words, so you might want to like replace them with like water resistant or wind resistant or something like that. So there's always going to be something that maybe kind of like, maybe that's a better solution for us to do this, because I've seen some of the listings have been taken down. So you can just like really, you know, prevent that from happening basically just, you know, by optimizing your listings once every 6 months.
That's amazing. Yana, please tell them how to find you and your business and how to find more information, because that's all we have time for today.
Sure. So I really love LinkedIn, and I post like a lot of content. I do analysis of like very big brands and small ones, pointing out to what they did wrong, how they could improve that. So if you like that, like it would be great if you can add me on LinkedIn. And of course, our webpage is ylt-translations.com. And then we're also offering a free audit. Like, so if you have a listing that is underperforming, or if you're wondering if it's good enough, what can be improved, then shoot it over to us. We'll be happy to take a look and give you all the comments that would make your listing stand out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yana. And thank you everyone for listening. This is Selling on Giants, the e-commerce marketplace show. Catch you next time.
See you guys.